Hey, Coach, do you have anything more on the injuries regarding DJ Chark, Brandon Linder, and Brandon Wright?
Yeah, DJ, I should know more about here in a little bit. We're just running some tests, and as soon as that those testing levels come back, and he'll be ready to go. So we're just waiting on those. Lender, we're gonna do some things with him on the side today. That's our goal to see how he feels. And then Brandon Wright, we're still working on him as far as seeing where he's at tomorrow. He won't do anything today, but I think tomorrow he'll work with the trainers and we'll have a better idea where he is.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you about Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew will be the same thing. He'll be working on he'll be out of practice, but he'll be working on the side.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Thanks, Smitter. Let's go over to Hayes and then Gene.
Hey, Doug, with COVID, were the players allowed to leave for the mini buy, or did they need to stay close and stay in Jacksonville? What was that process like?
The protocol is that you have to test daily, so we all had to make sure that we were testing every day.
How do you feel like your players are doing with the protocols?
I think they've been doing really well. I mean, like I said before, there's a great level of responsibility, and trying not to bring it into the building. I think, when you leave, it's tough. You have to have a great awareness, where you're going, who you're around. I think what we're doing protocol wise is great. I think that we feel safe. We feel, like we're obviously going to be ready to play and not lose anyone. So I mean that's kind of the mindset of going into this.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Hayes. Let's go over to Gene and then Demetrius.
Hey, Doug. Could you give us an update on your kicking situation, who you might be bringing in, and could you also when you see what Lambeau's record has been in his time there in Jacksonville, does it just give you a fuller appreciation just for what he's been able to do? I mean, his percentage is even far above what generally is regarded as an easier era in which to kick field goals.
Yeah, the first thing we are bringing in, obviously some veteran kickers. We'll know more today. I have the names. I just want to make sure that if they're actually on campus. We had to wait a couple of days because of the protocol. To make sure that they pass it before we bring them in. So we'll be doing a workout here at about 10:15 with the kickers. And if we feel like we can upgrade ourselves or don't feel that Brandon's going to be able to recover or whatever it may be, then obviously we may make some moves. So as soon as we do that, obviously we'll go out and get it to you guys. The next thing is with Lambeau. I think I don't ever feel like he was never appreciated. I think we always knew how good he was and consistent he was, and we've always appreciated that. We signed him to a contract. He was voted one of the captains. So, I think from a standpoint, maybe Gene, from where, we're sitting, the coaches and the players, we have a great appreciation for him. And, it's unfortunate, that he had that injury because, obviously he's, very consistent, works extremely hard. I just saw him right before I came in here. So he's off crutches. So he's walking around and, we'll just work on rehab and try to get him back as soon as we can.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Gene. Let's go Demetrius and then D-Rock.
Hey, Coach, do you have an update on Divine Ozigbo and Quincy Williams? I think that they're eligible to practice this week.
Yeah, I think we're still talking about that, making sure that they're fully clear. He sustained these injuries. Just want to make sure when they come back and they will make a decision with Quincy and Divine as we keep going. Basically waiting for the medical people to say, hey, they're okay to go practice. And then we got about a 3-week period of practice before we have to do anything as far as activation.
And then how much growth have you seen out of Jawan Taylor this year?
He's still a young football player. I mean, you're going to see growth. I think, overall, there's times that he's really looked good and the whole line has looked good, but sometimes during the course of the game, when the games have gotten to a point where we're just throwing, then you get beat inside, or you get beat around the horn, things like that. So the consistency of being able to go out, for 60 something plays, run and pass and win on all of them is something that you're always striving for. And I think, Juwan has worked extremely hard to do that, along with the rest of those guys. So I still think there's a lot left. I still think that he's going to, really keep improving as the season goes along. And I think he's going to improve, over the course of the year. I think, he's a second-year player. He played last year. I thought, for a first-year player, playing tackles tough. I thought he did a very good job. And then this year, there's an expectation for him to take a step up. And I think at times we've seen that, and now we're looking for the consistency in it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Demetrius. Let's go over to D-Rock and then to Mark.
Morning, Doug.
Good morning.
Points are up. Quarterbacks are really rolling this early in the season. Is that a trend that surprises you a little bit? Did you think that maybe defenses would be a little bit further ahead because there was no camps for offenses to really kind of get a rhythm?
Yeah, I would say, I think that's something that I think just in general, you'd always, view the defense always being a little bit ahead and the offense catching up. I'm talking about in general, what I'm saying? When you talk about the whole league, I think the same thing's going on in college. I mean, there was a couple of college games that were, in the 50s or 60s, scoring. So, it's obviously going up, which, if you're an offensive coach, you feel good about it. If you're a defensive coach, you don't. I think if you're a fan, you like it, right? I mean, that's what everyone says. People like the scoring in games, but you still have to find ways to defend and stop, your opponent, from obviously scoring touchdowns. So, yeah, I would say I don't know how much I get into the lack of this or lack of that. You know what I'm saying, for what it is. I think that. I don't know if the not having the off season is something, I'm sure, people can rely on that, but, we had ample enough time to get together and be able to go out there and play.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Doug,
Hi,
you've
Jack.
talked a lot about liking the mentality and the makeup chemistry of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is a good time that'll be challenged a little bit, or that this is a good time that, these guys will be able to kind of come back from that?
Well, I think all the times when you have a young team, I just want to make sure that, there's going to be challenges. What I try to do, Mark, is to make sure that, hey, listen, what are we focusing in on? Today's kind of a day where we can catch up, on these past two games because the players, had mandatory day off. So this morning we're catching up on these past games that we played and, really correcting some things and looking at it a little bit longer because now we have a little bit more time. And then kind of this afternoon after lunch, kind of switching, and going to Cincinnati. And, what I'm trying to make sure that, the team realizes that, that, hey, with this focus, this is what we need to focus on. We need to focus in on, hey, listen, are we in position, like in the right position where we want to be? And, are we doing technically what we're supposed to do from a technique standpoint? And I think you got to keep it, very precise, very, you don't want to be too broad where it's too many things. And those are the two things that I'm really looking for out of this team and the coaches, these next couple of days. And then obviously let's go play and let's see if we can make a play. If we're in position and we're using the right technique, then, we should be able to make some plays. And I think that'll help us team and help us get better. And I think those are the things that I try to do is try to, go back to this foundation and really kind of refocus because, I think one of the difficulties of when you go through a season, especially early on, and it doesn't matter whether you're older or younger, everyone handles things differently. Each team's a little bit mixed, but it's just everything's so extreme, of what goes on in the beginning. You win, and oh my gosh, all of a sudden, it's one way. If you lose, it's another, and there's so much, talk that goes on that it challenges you to stay focused, and it pulls you away from maybe some of the things you need to focus on to get better. And that's kind of what I spoke to the team about today. And, that's what I've seen in my career. That's what I believe. And, it's up to me to keep these guys, with that focus where we can keep getting better each day, and and have a better performance on Sunday to win.
One guy who had pretty extreme high and low, CJ Henderson. Did you see any effort issues with him on Thursday? And how do you explain maybe just these super swings for him? I mean, he played so well in the opener, and then really has kind of struggled since.
Yeah, I just think it's exactly what I said before. Those two things. I mean, hey, listen, the position we want you and the technique we want you playing. When he's done that, he's played at an extremely high level. And this trying to get in, to develop, for everybody, just a confidence about it, so you can do it, play in and play out. It's a difficult position to play because you got to play 60 something snaps full speed all the time, really, for a possibility of 4 plays. And it's it's that type of mentality, and he has all the ability in the world, and we have all the confidence in him. And we're just going to keep working with him and getting him better, because he can be that guy that can that can lock somebody down. And that's why we drafted him. And he works hard, but then like anyone, I mean, you get into these games, and early on for us defensively, and that sometimes even offensively, and you just kind of you lose it for a minute, and you can't do that. You've got to be consistent, play in and play out, and that's the type of focus that you have to have. And you don't want a lot of things going into your head as you play a game. Whether it be the play before, because then all of a sudden you start overthinking out there. You're going to get yourself in trouble, or you're just not going to be able to help the team.
Thank you, Mark. Let's do 2 final questions. Let's go to John Reed and then finish with John Shipley.
How you doing, Coach?
Good.
What have you seen from DJ Hayden? I know you got a lot of young players, particularly in the secondary. You got October month coming up, and how do you rely on a guy like him and other veterans to?
Yeah.
How important is their leadership?
It's important, and DJ is a great example of it for me, John. I mean, DJ is always, how I said, like, some people can get pulled away with things and maybe not be focused on the things you need to focus on to really get you better. DJ's always been that guy that's always had a really, high level of focus of his job and what to do. He's always been available. He's played through numerous, bumps and bruises and things like that, and then plays at a consistent level. I mean, that's the one thing, you know what you're going to get with DJ, game in and game out. He's going to be out there. He's going to be our nickel. He's going to play the run well. He's going to tackle well. He's going to be, in the position he needs to be in. He's going to play with our technique. And knowing that, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, hey, who can make the play, either you or your opponent. And DJ has always done a very good job for us. So, his mentality and his business approach, or just being that steady type of guy, that day in and day out comes in the same way with not a lot of outside distractions. I know that I appreciate it. And I think when you look at leadership and you look at veteran players, I think that, he can help some of those guys, with maybe some distractions or challenges that they have outside. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, John Reed. Let's go over to John Shipley for the final one.
Hey, Coach. What can you say about what you've seen from James Robinson in terms of his play in the passing game as a protector and as a receiver? I know, maybe you guys didn't know a whole lot about how he could do there when he stepped in, but it seems like he's done a good job.
Who's that again?
James Robinson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I knew a little bit. Like I said before, I mean, going back through it, I've said it many times. I saw a couple of clips of him when we signed him, and then when we got him here, you're in shorts, so he just kind of, he's kind of running. You can see the discipline, you can see the effort, and it was fine. I mean, you don't really go overboard because you're not playing, you're not hitting, and then when we got the pads on and we went to, some protection drills, which is one of the keys. A lot of times when you have a back that, has a lot of yards in college or a lot of yards in high school, and, you really can't see a lot of the protection part of it. So you really look at it as, hey, can you do it in a one-on-one situation? And we started doing some one-on-one pass protection, during training camp, and I was like, holy cow! I mean, and I didn't realize how good he was at really covering guys up, bodying them up, the strength and the explosion he had. So then I kind of go back and I went back at the weight room stuff and looked at that. He's one of our most explosive players. I found that out. You know what I'm saying, during training camp, what he can do as far as his lower body explosion. And then it was just a matter of, hey, listen, is this guy going to be able to hold on to the football when he gets hit in the NFL? And I think that he's proven that. So, I knew he can catch. I think he's a guy that, he can do everything. I mean, he can be a 3-down back. I mean, he can protect. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Obviously, he can run the football. There's a lot of things that he does, and it'll be interesting to see how he does, as the season goes, and being able to take care of your body. And that's the one thing I've always admired in this game. I don't know if you can ever realize, unless you're down on the field, the amount of contact, that those guys take, day in and day out, or Sunday. And, I have, you talk about appreciation. I have a great appreciation for those guys because, they're getting hit, one guy, two guys, three, and they're coming from all over. And, so I know James is working extremely hard to make sure he's taking care of his body, because it is a long season.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Mm-hmm.